Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do another entry here. This one yet again based on one of your newer suggestions. This one having to do with a mixtape of sorts. This one involving a monster. Not only that, but also the location that it happens to be at. The reason I wanted to highlight the location is because it's actually a place I've avoided talking about for the longest time in my videos. Now, I have had some similar areas that I've talked about in the past, but never directly the actual location itself. I just think it's just too well known, and it's one of the topics that I usually avoid when it comes to that stuff. But lo and behold, this suggestion happens to do with a monster found at that place, and so I thought what a great way to finally showcase both items in one. I still won't talk about too much about the location, but I definitely wanted to highlight it to show its importance about the monster there. And in fact, you're looking at a picture, a great drawing of the monster itself. It's known as the Bermuda Beast, and so automatically you'll know exactly why and what the location is that I'll feature here. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating but brief information associated with this Bermuda Beast. Now, before I go into the monster itself, let's first highlight the location it's found at. Obviously, it's going to be at the Bermuda Triangle. And so if you've ever had any suggestions in the past about the Bermuda Triangle itself, never really talked about it, mainly because, again, I think it's just too well known that there's so many other videos, so many other movies, documentaries, books, articles, anything online as far as the Bermuda Triangle that it's just too much to talk about here. I didn't, why add one more thing associated with it. But when I was reading at least some info about this Bermuda Beast and again where it happens to be featured at, I thought, why not just finally showcase it here? Now, I have talked about two other locations in the past that are very similar. The more recent one involving the Alaskan Triangle, and then the other one involving the Dragon's Triangle, or the Pacific Bermuda Triangle. I'll include those links below because I thought those were really, really great videos, and those are the kind of ideas that I go for. I'm talking about more rarer stuff as opposed to the more well-known stuff. But still, let me highlight real quick as far as the Bermuda Triangle itself, and that way, once I finish that, we'll talk about the monster and how it ties into this location. So as you all know, the Bermuda Triangle is a mysterious area there located just off the North Atlantic Ocean, and it comprises of, if you could call it that, a triangle of spots that ships and airplanes mysteriously have circumstances befall them. This can include stuff completely just disappearing off the map. So in other words, a ship or an airplane goes to that location and is never found again, or they come back but there's very mysterious things that have occurred, like all the crew is missing, or the ship is completely damaged and everyone is gone, that kind of stuff. So this area there, which happens to be again a 3-point area that's found, I think it's towards the Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Florida type area. It's vague. Unfortunately, there's no like concrete set of points that you could state this is the Bermuda Triangle itself, but that's the general ballpark area. That's where all this stuff happens, and it's been happening apparently since the 19th century. And there's been various theories as to what has occurred, like why there's so many things that happen there that just cause things to be mystified. One is paranormal, like there's something else happening, some kind of ghosts, some kind of spirits, just something ethereal that happens to be there that just befalls so many of these ships and then these poor airplanes that go across it. Another one involves the world of aliens and UFOs. You know how much I love that world itself. And the idea is that there's hundreds, if not something else, like an entire civilization of UFOs or some other type of aliens that live there and then just happen to have these poor ships and airplanes come across, and then that's where they get abducted, or worse, like something else just happens to them completely there. And then there's finally the notion that in this vast sea that still happens to be undiscovered, even though it's obviously been claimed and you can see it on maps, it's not like every single part of it has actually been reviewed. There's these monsters that are there, just gigantic absolute beasts that roam that area that is just so perfect for their size because the sea is so vast. You wouldn't have something like this, let's say, on land, maybe in the past, like with those gigantic dinosaurs, probably the closest similarity. But with the sea being so vast and open, you have a perfect opportunity for these monsters to be roaming about and, more importantly, hardly ever being seen. And so if you have these ships that come across this location, then that's where you have these giant monsters that just completely wipe them away. And then, of course, if you have airplanes as well, in some cases the monsters can be so big they actually grab the airplanes from the sea itself. More on that here in a minute as far as this Bermuda Beast. And then there's more commonly known, like Earth-like stuff involving, let's say there's apparently some magnetic compass variation, as I was reading, that happens to be there in that location. And when that happens, that just creates havoc with a lot of people's, like their airplane parts and then their airplane coordinates, and then that's what causes them to crash, or something else happens with the ship itself involving real life things, like in this case rogue waves. That's another thing that I was reading as well that could explain a lot of stuff associated with the Bermuda Triangle. Those are those gigantic waves, over 100 feet in some cases, that can just totally come out of nowhere, and they would totally wipe away the existence of an entire ship. So those are the more natural stuff that also people state happens there at the Bermuda Triangle. So again, so many versions of things that could occur there within this infamous triangle, all of them leading to dozens and dozens of situations of ships and then also airplanes having these mysterious circumstances happen to them. All of that ties into this, though, as far as the Bermuda Beast itself. So this is a beast that has been reasoned. It's still a lot of conjecture. There's still a lot of loose information. I mean, none of it is concrete at all. There's not like there's any 100% proof, not even a small percent of proof as to the existence of this beast. But the notion is this, that a lot of these planes and a lot of these ships, happen to befall this creature. That's why they disappeared. That's why they happen to have so many of their crew gone. It's because lurking deep within those waters is this ginormous, absolute mammoth beast that could actually rival what I consider to be the largest cryptid of them all, Zeratan. I'll include the link for that one below as well if you haven't had to see it. That's one of my oldest videos, but I consider Zeratan to be the largest cryptid of them all. But here, this Bermuda Beast may actually be even larger. In fact, it's been theorized that this creature is 4 times the size of the Eiffel Tower itself. That's how big it is, over 3,000 feet when it comes to this creature being, the size altogether. And so here you have this ginormous beast that's there roaming about the seas. It can easily just come up from the waters itself and then pluck any airplane that just happens to be flying by. And then when that happens, it's essentially bye-bye airplane. And then that's why we never hear or see anything else afterward. And then imagine something like this involving a ship. Here you could have this creature, this Bermuda Beast, just roaming about there. It sees something off in the distance as far as a warship or something else. And then when it comes across it, then it could just easily tackle it into the sea. And you'll never know that this ship ever had any chance of making it to land. You'll never know what happened to it afterward. Unfortunately, there's nothing else in terms of, let's say, how this creature looks like, photographs, anything involving video associated with it. You would have to go straight to the Bermuda Triangle itself in order to do so, but there's very little chance of that happening, considering again how remote that location is, unless if you're some kind of ship that's just traveling for business or commercial purposes. That's pretty much the closest time that you'll ever get to see something like this. Or again, if you're an airplane coming across it, still you're going to be thousands of feet up in the air. It's not like you're going to have a chance to see this beast on that perfect moment as it comes up from the water. And then even if you do, it's not going to be a good sign there because that's when it's bad news as far as if you believe all those occurrences and all those things happening to all those ships and airplanes because of this beast, then that's going to be a bad sign for your encounter there as well. But that's pretty much it as far as the information associated with this Bermuda Beast. Very little is known about it. Nothing else in terms of it being a colossal creature. May be tied to so many disappearances of airplanes and then some of the ships that are there, and then also as far as its size rivaling Zeratan itself. itself, which I again find that hard to believe because I still consider it to be the largest one of all. But that's pretty much it. But if anybody has any more info, anything else might have missed about this ginormous beast, then please let me know. Post those comments as well. If anybody has any more, let's say, info about other sightings of this beast elsewhere, one would imagine that with the sea being so open, there's a chance it could roam anywhere else, then please post those comments below. And again, I'm sorry if those of you that are fans of the Bermuda Triangle want me to talk about it more. It's just one of those things, again, where if I will, maybe I'll do it as a 3-parter or something like that, because there's so much info to mention. But this is about as close as possible that I'll do so for a video. I'm still much more interested in the other 2 videos, topics like those that I feature the links below. That's the kind of stuff that grabs my attention more because of their rarer notoriety. But all right, thank you everybody as always, and if you have again any more comments, please post them below. All right, everybody, take care.